So, McConnell, we already since we got our playmaking, our featured playmaker in this upcoming offense. We're not going wide receiver at 22. 9 times out of 10, we'll probably go corner. Maybe even shake up the world and go edge rusher. Who knows?
Or really shake it up and go running back.
That too. So I want to ask you, um, day three. We do got that pick of round three. Do you still want to go for a wide receiver? If we are going for a wide receiver to add to this, this wide receiver core, who's some guys that you're looking at?
Yeah, so if we're looking at the Ravens later picks, we got round 3, 4, 5, 6 draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest name for me, I gotta say, I don't love the round 3 guys, the late day 2, round 3 guys. One name I'll just throw out there is Trey Palmer. I think he's a deep threat out of Nebraska. I kind of like him, but somebody that I really like in terms of value is going to be a day 3 guy. Could get him in round 5, not even just round 4, and that's Puka Nacua, wide receiver out of BYU. He is a big body, smart, physical wide receiver. He's not a crazy athlete by any means, but he is a jump ball player with good hands. And that, I think, if we combined it with Odell and Bateman and Aguilar, I think you look at all those guys, what are we missing? We're missing size.
Yeah.
Puka Nacua could be that guy with size that has a certified role in an NFL team. Because there are guys with size in this draft, but it's also guys with size that I'm very concerned about, where it's like, okay, I don't know how dominant they can be. A guy like Cedric Tillman, I think, is one of those guys where it's like, oh, I like the size.
Yeah.
He can kind of do a lot of things, but nothing really well. That scares me with guys with size. If you're drafting someone late, I want them to be really good at something so then they can work on everything else.
Yeah.
And Puka Nacua is really, really good at going up and bringing down catches and using his size. We can work on the route running.
And you know what? I don't know about you, McConnell, but when I was looking up some guys, man, I think that was one of the first things I saw. As far as like weakness was like limited route tree. Like, hey, these guys are going out there doing their own thing, and the QB's like, and the QB pretty much in the huddle like, yo, get open, I'm going to you. Like, so who's in the office now? Greg Lewis, T. Martin. Hopefully, Keith is still there. I believe Keith is still with us. They got their work cut out. And hopefully, with Odell Beckham, being that veteran guy, he can teach these young guys a little thing or two. Now, I had to do a little research myself. I had to see what was going on out here. I know a lot of people may not be talking about him, but one of my guys is Keyshawn Boot. I believe he was a 4-star recruit going into LSU. He started his collegiate career at LSU in 2020 as a freshman. He had 45 receptions for 735 yards for 5 tutties. He set the SEC receiving yards in game in the season. And what did he do? Oh, the season finale. He played against Ole Miss. He put up 308 yards and 3 touchdowns. Dude went crazy. He's 5'11". I know everybody wants a guy with size. I want a guy with size too. Don't get me wrong. But this is a guy that, I feel like, you could put in the slot. He could be an X. He just didn't get the opportunities at LSU to be in the X position. But I feel like in a top bucket offense, somebody you can put in the middle, someone that can be, what Devin Duvernay tried to be. I feel like he's an upgrade from Devin Duvernay, honestly. The bad thing about it last year, he did have an injury, so he didn't see too much of the field last season. But I'll tell you one thing: when the ball is in his hand, he's pretty much moving. He's thinking about that yak, that yards at the catch. What he's about to do next. He can outrun the cornerbacks. He can outrun linebacks. He got that SEC speed, and I love that about that young man. But another guy that I've been looking at is Deuce Watts out of Tulane. He was 6'2". He's a 6'2" specimen. Last year he had 31 receptions for 569 yards and 8 tutties. So He's a savvy route runner. He knows his route tree. But the thing, you know what I like about him, McConnell, he's violent with the hands off the line of scrimmage. So hey,
We like.
so it's a lot. The Sauce Gardners, the J.C. Horns, the Patrick Surtains, the seconds. They like to get physical. They like to get in your chest. The Marlon Humphreys, they like to get in your chest. Nah, he fighting with you. He doesn't have that big burst of speed, but with him being able to be violent at the line of scrimmage and being able to attack you, he's able to create that separation. You also with a 6'2" frame, you can line him up in the slot. He also does have he does know how to locate the ball. He does know how to attack it he does know how to attack the ball at the point of attack, which is always good. We're looking for guys to catch the ball with their hands and not catch the ball with their body. So that's always good. And another thing about him, when I watched his highlights, when his QB was in distress, he always found a way to make himself available. And what's something that we've been missing out on our wide receivers that Lamar Jackson never really had? Guys didn't know how to make themselves available when Lamar was in distress. Mm-hmm. So, when I see that, I say, oh, damn, that's somebody Lamar can possibly, lean on to. I know we got Odell. I know we got Rashad, but let's see what let's put this young man out here. When Miles Boykins was available, he was on the field. How many times did he drop the ball? Way too many. I feel like if you put Deuce Watts out there, with his big frame, he's going to catch the ball. He's going to make himself available. So I feel like that'll be another great target for Lamar Jackson. The great thing about Deuce Watts is too, even though he doesn't have great speed, he does not mind fighting for extra yards. He does not mind putting his shoulder down and trying to run over a linebacker. Now, granted, the linebackers are not big as they were in the NFL. They are a little smaller because they are agile and more faster. They don't pack the punch like a Vontaze Burfict or a Ray Lewis. Those guys. Don't get me wrong, linebackers still hit. We seen Roquan Smith racked up 100-something tackles, but they don't hit like how we grew up watching football. That's all I'm saying. So I feel like Deuce Watts could be another good guy that could possibly be a great addition to this wide receiver core as well.
Yeah, and just kind of bringing up those guys, I don't have really any major problems with any of those guys. Some concerns. I think the biggest one is Boot. I think he has a couple of off the field issues. Okay. So that here's the thing: you need a wide receiver to be a little bit crazy to be great. But the Ravens don't like that, right. Unfortunately. So like I don't have a problem with his game. It's just something where it's like I think John Harbaugh in the doghouse. We saw how it worked out with Jordan Lasley. I'll just say that. I think that would be the best comparison I can make.
Yeah, that's true.
But in terms of looking at Green and Watts, I really like Antoine Green out of North Carolina.
I ain't speak on him, but yeah, I did have to, I've been a big Josh Downs fan. I had to say, well, who's the other guy they've been throwing it to?
just to let myself add somebody in there. It would be, because they're both just like these big body wide receivers that, are gonna go late and, are able to make plays. And it's like being able to make plays, it sounds so basic. But not every wide receiver makes plays, even though you're good.
Yeah.
But Ravens need somebody that is going to do the extra thing to make that special play. And, I think we can get that out of those guys. I would be very happy if the Ravens draft either of them, with one of their later picks. Because like I personally see more value for the Ravens drafting day 3 wide receivers than drafting day 2 wide receivers, because I don't love the day 2 wide receivers. I don't really love the day. Well, now if you want to, trade up and second round pick and drive Josh Downs, I'm all in on that
for sure.
But I don't think we're doing that. So in terms of late day round 3 picks, like I don't love those wide receivers, like I just am not a huge fan of any of them.
Like you said, man. I mean, I would definitely if Josh Downs is there and they feel like they've been coveting him and they want to go for it, by all means, go for it. I feel like that's going to be a big upgrade because that's somebody that can line up on the outside, but he's gonna truly abuse the middle of the offense, you know. But someone else that we did not speak about that I feel like will be a day two pick is Rashee Rice out of SMU.
Mm-hmm.
I think this technically be a third SMU guy if we were to draft him, but
it would be.
So I mean, he definitely feel like he'll be a great addition to two. But you know, we definitely got to see how things play out.
Yeah, and it's just like, you know, we're gonna have to see. Like, that's what makes the draft so exciting. Is like there's always like the skeptics and predictions that go into when will this guy go. Because sometimes a guy gets drafted really early when you're not expecting it, and sometimes guys just fall. Like Kyle Hamilton should not have fallen in the draft. I talked about it so many times up until the draft, and I was like, I don't know why, but I have a feeling like maybe he falls. Like, I think he's insanely good. I think he's incredibly talented. I would take him top 5 if I could. And then he fell. It was like, wow. And then people were like, man, Malik Willis could be first round, maybe the Titans, you know, maybe the Seahawks at like pick 5, you know, maybe he could go top 10. And then it was like, oh, fall. Because we don't really know. Every team values differently. Every team interviews differently. And so we'll see where the Ravens are able to pull a wide receiver out of. I expect them to draft one. I don't necessarily think we need one, but we can always use one. So that's, you know, two sides.
I would like to see somebody beat Nelson Aguilar out. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't mind it. I would not mind it.